So what kept you going?
The dog I adopted. Because I thought if I can't do it for myself, I need to do it for this dog.
It's scary how journeys can be mirrored, because likewise, when I talk about my journey, it was after having been diagnosed with a chronic health condition. And I was kind of like, okay, well, there's some kind of roof over my head and at least my health isn't flaring up right now.
Everything I do is like an action of love towards myself. Vulnerability has allowed me to really be honest with myself, my goals, what I want in life. Am I doing this because I feel that I have to or need to, or am I doing it because I enjoy it?
Annie,
Yes.
what is the best thing that has happened to you when at the time you thought it was the worst thing that could have happened to you?
Honestly, I was homeless. I've never told you that, have I?
No?
Yeah, I was homeless. Had no home.
How did that happen?
It was a mixture of naivety, lack of responsibility, and hoping someone would save me.
What was the journey that you were on that led you to the point of being without a home?
It was more of like an internal healing process of like, who am I? Why am I here? Like those deeper questions that hit you and you have like no answers for. And you're kind of like, I don't even know what this is anymore. Like what's going on? Like, and it's almost like a naivety, like that inner child within you that's like, what is this? Like, and trying to find the answers yourself, but being like hopeless at the same time.
That's painful.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Have you?
Not homeless. Okay. Well, I did have time where I was sofa surfing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it was with a family member, but it was an active choice to stop renting where I could save money, invest into a business mentor.
Mm-hmm.
But I did have to sleep on an airbed in my brother's 1-bedroom apartment.
Mm-hmm.
However, when I say I've been there, it's been a case of wondering, what is my purpose here on this planet? Like, am I just stuck in the rat race trying to make it through, trying to find a job, to earn some money, to then, I don't know, do everything that everyone else does? It's a really scary position to be in because you don't know what or how you're going to move forward. So what kept you going?
The dog I adopted. Yeah. Because I thought if I can't do it for myself, I need to do it for this dog. And it was more of a like, I need to like help support this little thing that was also homeless.
Gosh, it breaks my heart.
You know, yeah, it's one of those things though that like I look back on and I do have that sense of like, oh my God, that happened. And my nervous system was out of control, by the way. Like, but there was a sense of like groundedness at the same time of like, I'm in a better place being here than if I was in the UK. That was my mentality of like, I would rather be in the situation I am in now with all these, again, gratitude of like, I've got this and this and this. I've got my health, because I didn't have my health like a year prior. So I've actually, in my eyes, gone a lot further in life than what I was a year ago, even if I don't have a home.
It's scary how journeys can be mirrored, because likewise, when I talk about my journey, it was after having been diagnosed with a chronic health condition. And I was kind of like, okay, well, there's some kind of roof over my head and at least my health isn't flaring up right now. At least my health isn't flaring up so I can work. And if I can work, I can afford to pay my bills. And if I can afford to pay my bills, I can afford to, be here, right? So what health struggles did you face?
It was all kind of manifested from a place of seeking external validation. But the root cause was an ectopic pregnancy, which I've told you about before. And there's a science to this story, and there's like a more spiritual, holistic side. And I know you like the science and everything, so I'm going to go through the science and then I'll support it with all like the holistic
I
way.
like both sides.
Yes, you do. So I was basically like pushing my body to the limit And even though I felt out of alignment with everything I was doing, I felt that I needed to complete something so I didn't look like a failure. And I felt that I needed to be like, get that box ticked to then get the next thing or do the next thing to feel a certain way or feel that I'm accepted by whoever that actually is more focused on themselves, like everyone is in this world. And the more I kept pushing, the more that gut instinct that you have and that intuition is like so deep of like, I need to stop this, but I don't know how to get out. And it was not until I was doing a whole prep of 25 weeks. So I was doing maintenance calories for 5 weeks. And the rest of the 25, I like to do it slow and steady. But the last 2 weeks out, I had a rupture on my right side, rushed into hospital. And I remember, like, from a nervous system perspective of the science side, I had been in such a fight or flight response, like a fawn almost, for ages, trying to complete something. And then I went straight into hypo, like freeze state, completely numb, like disassociation, all those types of things where you don't have the words to be able to speak. And it got to the point where when I was rushed into hospital, this is like now going to like a holistic spiritual side. I was never very spiritual before until that happened. And I remember, you know, people refer to that white light when like you die.
Yeah.
I saw it. Like it came in and I remember like hovering above my body. And like when it happened, I remember like experiencing love that I've never experienced in my life, that I literally now, like I know that there is something greater in this world, that I have no fear with anything with that anymore because I've experienced the love. Like it's love I can't even explain.
I've literally just got goosebumps
Like
everywhere.
It's like we think we can experience love, which we can to like an extent with relationships and pets and people around us and things or whatnot. But like the true love that like is like exotic, like more than an orgasm, like it's just like huge. I can't put that into words because it would just do it disjustice. It would be like a nothingness. So I remember like basically being like, oh my God, this is amazing. Bye, like floating away. And then I felt this sensation of like, I was like not here anymore. And this is when I was in like the hospital bed. And like, it was COVID, everything, you couldn't have anyone visit. And then I felt almost being pushed back in my body and I was resisting it. And it was like you're everything at the same time, but you're being pushed back into this, like what you know. And I was resisting it so much, like, no, please, no. Like, but it wasn't from a place of like a mental health. It was like a real openness of love. Like, this is an amazing feeling. And then when I was like waking up in the hospital bed, I was like, oh, what was that? Like, nervous system side, science side, hypo, disassociation, blacked out from pain, to then being like, that was the best experience of my life. So coming in a 360 of what you said, that was the most life-changing thing in a positive way. Like I opened my eyes and I haven't seen the world the same.
The most tragic yet somehow fortunate inflection point that you could have ever experienced. And I wasn't joking when I said that. I literally just got goosebumps all over my whole body when you said that. When you spoke about that, you just felt that sensation of love. And whether it's science or the holistic approach that or whichever lens you put on, what you saw was a reason to feel love, to be grateful, and to be happy to be here, which, as you say, when you were coming from a place of maybe low self-worth, trying to prove something, where you reference prep to those who might not know about physique competitions, could you give a little bit more detail in terms of like what you were doing and why you were doing it?
Yeah. So mentally or physically or emotionally?
From all aspects, like what were you competing for? What were you competing in?
Yeah, so I was doing at the time, it was the WBFF competitions. So for me, like, it was more the aesthetics physically, aesthetics with what I'd wear. It's all external validation. I was doing everything, including fitness things, for aesthetics and external things. And it wasn't until this new approach that I've had the last few years is like, actually, it has to come within. And the external is just like a cherry on the top. Like if I can look after my health, my body with self-care, self-love, everything I do is like an action of love towards myself. I've done a good day. I've had like an amazing day. And like, if I haven't hit a step count, for example, as simple as that, well, actually, like, I've woken up and I've just been grateful for the people I have around me and the ones that I love. And I've still like gone to the gym or done something for me. So it's had a flip of, that's what I was doing and this is what I'm doing now, you know?
I adore that, because everything, even if it's a journey that requires work, development, change, transformation, you can still view that journey through a place of compassion and love and care instead of not enoughness, which is obviously what had been actually the driver. If you are a busy, career-driven woman and you know that your inability to lose the body fat that you want to lose is stopping you from living a confident, successful life, then hear me out. We have just launched our Fat Loss Accelerator program, which is made specifically for women who are constrained for time, yet they want to lose anywhere between 10 to 25 pounds of body weight within 90 days. Throughout this process, we're also going to teach you exactly what you need to know so that you can maintain this result forever. That it's the lifestyle changes and the habits that you need to implement for the rest of your life to finally become that confident and successful woman who excels in all areas of her life. So if you're interested in finding out more about our Fat Loss Accelerator program, then send me a message on Instagram. Send me the words Fat Loss Accelerator. My Instagram is Millie at Team CBM. The link is in description below, and I will get back to you with all the information that you need to know. Back to the episode. So how did your relationship with fitness change after that experience?
Yeah, good question. You know what? It actually changed for the better, because where before it was all for external and it was all aesthetics, it was very isolating. Like, bodybuilding is a very isolating, you'll know this, it's very isolating. Like it's a one-man show. And even though you're against yourself, you're competing against others. Whereas when I changed it to, I'm going to look after myself internally, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and learn about my nervous system and how I operate, I have better connections. Like the last few weeks, speaking about the parts of ourselves, like being able to connect and use that language has allowed me to be self-regulated because I feel connected to others. So it's a whole different ball game.
Someone might think that an experience like that, where you no longer are deriving the joy from a fitness journey simply from aesthetics, what others think about you, because 9 times out of 10 we can kind of be pushed into a fitness journey or a transformative journey because we don't feel good enough or we feel like we've got insecurities. So what's propelled you to keep up with fitness then?
It's definitely in my personality, to be honest. Like being like a gymnast at such a young age. Like it's in me to be that, like, just like movement, or like in dance or gymnastics, like you work towards one performance or one day or one thing, and then you move on to the next and the next. And for me, in fitness, it's very much, okay, I'll do this exercise, perfect the movement pattern, really execute it, get the whole range of motion. Now we do the next thing. Now we do the next thing. So my mind works in that way rather than like I see the whole workout as one thing. And if I do it, great. If I don't do it, great. Like I don't view it in that way. I see it as like little snippets, one rep at a time, one exercise at a time, one like thing just to keep me present. I think it's like that.
Beautiful. I love that. So for you, the experience, because it is an experience of exercising, obviously something that's been trained into you since you were very young, you're a gymnast, but it's a process which allows you to almost be a bit meditative, like you're present, focusing on that, optimizing it. And you've kind of alluded to a little bit of a perfectionist approach.
100%.
Shout out to our perfectionist listening.
Yeah, literally. Everything has to be like on point.
Well, you talk about labels and naming parts of your personality, and I definitely have a perfectionist. She's in there. But she's been very much so beaten down over these last couple of years. Because she's just constantly been getting in the way of things that could feel good or need to get done. I don't know whether that resonates with you.
100%. 100%. And it's like, you know, the one thing that changed because that part is so strong for me as well. And it's just trying its best. And when you use that language of this perfectionist part of you is literally just trying to keep you safe in your nervous system, it's doing an amazing job. Let's befriend it. Let's not think it's a burden here. And when we can make friends, we can soften that relationship. So like, it's all mindset, isn't it? It's like, now I understand you are working with me. We are not against each other. And now I understand when you come up, you're there for me. So I'm supporting myself from my body to my mind just through that language.
Annie, how did you learn this?
This is from my neuroscientist mentor back in the day. It was actually it was from 2020 through to like 2022. She just took one look at me and was like, your nervous system, like, let's have a little look into there. Let's get curious around it. And she was with me prior to the ectopic pregnancy and saw me post, and she saw that transition and was with me throughout the whole thing. So for her to see the parts of me shine through in different ways and then the other ways shine through that way, it's like she's helped me understand the importance of presence, not only just with people like here, but internally. What are you feeling? The sensations in your nervous system, what's going on right now? So yeah, it's the life-changing.
What would you say your superpower is now then? Because previously I'm getting hints of, you know, very hard worker, perfectionist, not missing a beat, as you say, when you were doing your prep, making sure that everything was exactly as it needed to be, as it has to be when you're pushing for an extreme goal like that. Whereas now it sounds like you give yourself a lot more grace and kindness. But for yourself and for others, what's your biggest superpower now?
Vulnerability.
Well, we started off the podcast with a whole lot of
yeah, we did, didn't we? But it's true. Like, if I'm sat here now, like, just being like me, like nothing else but me, and like that gives the other person permission to just be them. And like, how much more, like, I feel more connected to you being vulnerable, and vice versa. Obviously, there's a whole nother ball game in that of like boundaries and whatnot. You hold your energy, I'll hold my own. And it's all like trial and error and practicing and stuff like that. But vulnerability has allowed me to really be honest with myself, my goals, what I want in life. Am I doing this because I feel that I have to or need to, or am I doing it because I enjoy it? You know? And when to be honest, when I've enjoyed the process more, I've got better results.
It has to be that way.
Yeah.
Because if you're showing up to do something that saps joy from your life, it's very hard to show up and do that every single day in pursuit, unless the pursuit is so great to get somewhere that is perceived to be better. And even then, the grass being greener on the other side. Who knows? So the stoic approach of using that gratitude day in, day out in everything that you do, I couldn't agree with more. One thing that I'm really interested to touch on about the vulnerability from your perspective as a coach, from someone who has been coached. I remember hiding things, not talking about things, feeling like my coach would be disappointed in me, feeling like I hadn't done a good enough job, just certain things that I didn't feel comfortable sharing with that coach. What is it to you to be vulnerable from a coach's perspective, but then also just from you as Annie in your essence?
Yeah. I think like just from the mentors that I've worked with, everything's a mirror, right? And like when vulnerability is shown, it sheds light, even when it's really dark. And like for me to be vulnerable with a coach or a mentor and be like, you know what, like I'm actually having this problem, or, you know, how can I do it this way? These are the solutions I've come up with. I've brought them to you. I don't expect you to solve my problems, but I'm coming with solutions here with what I can do. But just so you know, like I'm struggling to either decision make, or what do you feel is the best way to shed light on this darkness, basically. And it's just the life-changing cocktail for me.
It's how we form connection with others. If we can show up and be truly human and say, this part or this thing that I did, this part about me, I don't like it. And it kind of makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable to tell you that, but I trust you. So what are you going to do with my trust? And from our perspective as coaches, well, what is the first thing that we do if someone is incredibly vulnerable with us?
Thank you for being so vulnerable. Problem shared, problem halved. What are we going to do about it? It's like, how much more light do you feel when you've shared that? And it's like, right, let's go. Let's move to the next milestone for you. We're doing this together. It's not, this is my problem, I'm doing it alone. What do you tell me now? Like, we are with you.
It's so, it's like, reminds me of, you know, the film Up, where they put all, like, you add the helium balloons and you keep adding the balloons. And before you know it, it kind of feels like that stress is like floating away.
Yeah.
And it's fun and it's fine. Because there is nothing better than saying, well, from my perspective, when I was really, really low in my fitness journey, binging on foods and feeling absolutely disgusted, and being able to say to someone like, hey, I really struggle with this and I feel gross and bloated and I did this because this thing happened. And for someone to just look at me and say, you know what? It's okay. Yeah. And I can actually help you with this next step forwards. And from our perspective as coaches, that's what we do.
Yeah.
But what would be your biggest advice to someone who feels like when they need to share something and they know they need to be vulnerable, they feel like a mime and their mouth just clamps up?
It's interesting because when you talk about like experiences like with your journey of the binge eating, like I see everything through the neuroscience lens of like your nervous system is just trying to find safety through self-soothing. And when things like that happen, you're trying your best. That part of you is trying your best. So when in a moment where you feel clamped and you feel like you got sweaty palms, you don't know how to ask for help, again, that's just another part of you that needs to be discovered or will be discovered eventually. And that happens when there is connection and when there is conversation and communication, whether that's with someone to be your mirror or yourself, having communication with yourself. And obviously we all know like there's ways of doing that by yourself, whether it's like journaling or, do you like journaling?
I journal all the time.
Yeah, do you? Do you?
Like, gosh, don't go rooting through. We're staying at a hotel, by the way, to you guys listening. Yeah. We're staying at a hotel, and don't go rooting through and find my purple notebook, because if you do, that's my whole life secrets in there.
Did you, when you were a kid, do you ever used to have like the invisible pen?
Oh yeah.
And then you light it up like no one can see this. You can't even remember what you wrote, and you're like,
I should definitely get some more of those invisible pens. You know, recently I've been going back to full on Dear Diary. As
Have
in, like,
you?
as in not even like journal prompts like I am grateful for, or this is what I, writing what I want to achieve in the present tense. I'm literally like, dear diary, this happened today. This is how I felt about it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's like you're writing to someone.
But technically, that's another fantastic tool, right? Because if you're writing to someone, but you're writing to you in that journal, I could, for instance, let's use my story as an example, right? Today, I ate a whole pack of Oreo biscuits. I ate this, I ate that. I felt disgusting afterwards. And I know that I should probably ask for help or speak to someone about this. But I feel worried to do that in case they judge me. What's the worst case scenario of them judging me? Well, I guess they're not the person to help me.
Yeah.
And that just allows you to explore. But it's a lonely place if you don't begin. And so hopefully from
this podcast,
from this podcast, if there's one thing that you can take away from the bravery, but also the beautiful vulnerability of Annie, it's to talk.
Yeah. Just to talk, even if it's to a friend, even if it's to yourself, guys. I've literally looked in the mirror and spoken to myself. Like,
it's really fun.
Like it's so uncomfortable. But when I mean like that, it means like when I was in a deep place of like self-loathing and not a lot of self-love, like I'd literally look at myself in the mirror and be like, I love you. And then it'd be like, oh, I love you. And then it'd be like, I love you. And how that changes the language of your tone and stuff like that. Like, you can do it with yourself as well.
That's so incredibly helpful. Trust me, I'm going to go back home and say to myself, I love you so much.
I love you so much.
But thank you, Annie, for sharing such an incredible and sad and beautiful and gratitude-filled story. Like your journey and what you've been through, as I say, heartbreaking, but also so inspiring.
It's so like blossoms. That's what I see it. It's like I would never change anything for the world for that. Like, that's the most valuable thing I have in my life, like my experiences.
It makes sense why you're the ray of sunshine that you are. And thank you for casting some of that warmth and light onto everyone listening. And if there's anything that the listeners will take away, it will be to be more vulnerable, to be more Annie.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Annie. I appreciate you.
Thanks. I appreciate you.
I love you.
I love you.